And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this beautiful morning down in Boca Chica, Texas, as we are watching Ship 29 moving into what appears to be another attempt to perform most likely a spin prime test. My name is Adrian Bile. I'm today's host, and I am joined by not two voices, but only one voice today, which is Trevor Zeshnik. Trevor, how you doing?
Yeah, it's always exciting when we have not only IFT4 testing, but also hopefully an IFT flight this week. So it's an exciting time down at Starbase, and I can't wait.
There we go. And yeah, today we are starting and kicking it off with the Trevor and Adrian show here, basically. So if you have questions for us, and of course there's Jay Keegan behind the scenes. I'm so sorry for forgetting you here, Jay. Who is also around his with here this early in the morning, and making sure we're getting these views. So for all of this, make sure to tag at NASASpaceflight in chat, as we are, always wanting to answer your questioning, interacting with y'all. So that really helps us to make sure we have something to talk about, and we make sure that we talk about the things that most interest you. Trevor, do you mind giving us a rundown on what Ship 29 is and what the current playing field is? Why do we think this is a spin prime?
Yeah, so Ship 29 is basically the sister ship to Ship 28. We aren't aware of that many differences between the two. I imagine that any learnings that SpaceX makes about Ship 28 on IFT3, they'll eventually do retrofits, but as of right now, they are very similar. And today we're expecting a spin prime test, and the reason why we're expecting that over, say, a static fire is because Mary has not received an overpressure notice. So with no overpressure notice, that doesn't completely rule out a static fire, since they've done it before without one. However, the vast majority of the time, that means that they will be going for spin prime testing. And also, we believed that on, what was it, Friday that they had testing, if I remember correctly, that was going to be a spin prime test that was aborted. So this seems to be a repeat of what that test was going to be.
Is that a vent? That was a vent, right?
I didn't
think-
see it. From where?
No, but I heard it. That was loud. I think that was a vent. But yeah, looking like we will have a spin prime test here. And looked like this is the second attempt, as Trevor said. We don't know what happened on the first attempt. It's always the chance that something minor comes up with the tank farm, and something, just didn't work out. It's always hard to say, right? But what's happening with these aborted attempts, Trevor? It's always this matter of SpaceX doesn't give us insight, and also there could be like a million things that scrub a potential attempt of a test.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be something as simple as the pressures in the tanks were slightly wrong and they weren't comfortable with where the vehicle was at. But we have no idea. So it seems like it must have been something minor, given that they just needed to do a little bit of work over the weekend, and now they're all good for another attempt.
Yep, absolutely. Let's hope they fixed whatever didn't work. and we are today seeing a spin prime test. And let's start moving into questions here. And the first question is from Chris W. asking, Trevor, do you think Ship 29 could static fire before launch day of the third flight stack?
Yeah, so this is kind of the talk of the town right now right, SpaceX has a bunch of, launch checkouts that they need to do on the IFT-3 stack ahead of Flight 3, which is currently no earlier than Thursday. So the question is, with that, is SpaceX likely to want to continue testing of Ship 29? And in my opinion, today's test is a good indication that SpaceX probably is mostly done with a lot of those checkouts, or will wait until Wednesday/Thursday to do them. So in my opinion, if they can if they can successfully spin prime Ship 29 today, they're in a good position to do a static fire of Ship 29 tomorrow. However, that's just my gut feeling. It could very easily be wrong.
Yeah, these vents are a bit loud here. Sorry, everybody. We are working on making sure they're a bit quieter, but I also believe there's a frost line, Trevor. I see it.
Oh yeah.
We already have propellant loading here onto Ship 29. It seems like they're really going for it this morning. And yeah, this is quite some progress this morning. Like they're moving fast here. So that's the LOX tank of the ship that you're getting filled. Of course, there will be also some methane load, although it's probably gonna be very, very low. But yeah, we have LOX loading here, which is good. I like that. I like progress, especially in the morning.
Yeah.
Trevor, another question we get here a lot, and no, it's not about Ship 29. We see this beautiful frosting here, but we should probably address it. Do we have regulatory approval yet for the flight on Thursday?
No, unfortunately, we do not. So that didn't come out last week, and of course, the government hours just opened, so all of the launch licenses in the past have dropped somewhat in the afternoon. So, closer to the 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern in that window. So I would say the launch license is no earlier than that today officially. However, I kind of think that the launch license is probably no earlier than Wednesday at this point, with SpaceX wanting to launch as soon as they get the launch license on Thursday. So as of right now, no. Everything seems to be on track for it, as in, SpaceX hasn't talked about any further delays on their website or, anything like that. And the FAA has issued a statement saying that the mishap investigation report, which is the part that takes the longest, has been completed. So I would imagine that they're very close to getting one at this point.
Absolutely. And I think even should there be a regulatory delay, which we cannot rule out at this point, like that's just to point this out, like there could be a regulatory delay of a few days. We are talking about with maximum a few days. Like we are not talking about, the FAA thinks they need until May. That's not realistic at this point. So we'll just have to wait and see here. So far SpaceX has not indicated that we should be in any way worried.
What is your gut feeling, Adrian, as to when Flight 3 will lift off?
Honestly, I have set the 18th now for quite some weeks, and I remain on that. I think it will be the 18th. I think there will be either a scrap or some delay on Thursday, and we will see it somewhere around Monday. So I will just stick with that for now.
Yeah. I kind of agree that I think there'll be a scrub and or delay on Thursday, but I think Friday, to be honest, but maybe that's just the optimism in me.
I think they will get into the first attempt on Friday. That's my. I still am very skeptical about Thursday because usually the day, like once they target the day for a long time, usually that day tends to slip by a day or two because there's always last minute checks that can come up that just don't work fully and they need maybe something. Like we had the whole actuator situation, for example, last time on Super Heavy. So I am always skeptical that they just is a last minute thing that delays them a day or two.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Conversely, though, or I guess not really, it's not really the converse, but they are already in the full stack configuration. So I imagine they've already started doing a lot of those final checkouts that last time they left to the day before. So hopefully, if they have something this time like a grid fin actuator that needs to be replaced, they would have caught that already and would already be starting those operations.
That's true. It's honestly the problem is our sample size with these Starship flights is so extremely low. I mean, we just have 2, and they all are so special and unique that it's always hard to just like extrapolate that and try to understand it based on the last time. You know, we just didn't have it that many times yet. It's such an unique launch.
Yeah, it certainly isn't like Falcon where it's like, oh, we had 2 data points from last night.
Yeah, it's like Falcon 9. We got more we got more Falcon 9 data points this week than we got for Starship ever, which is
So-
insane.
Here's something crazy that I realized last night when I was just scrolling through Next Spaceflight. There has not been a non-SpaceX launch this month.
That's I know we talked about this already, like we two privately, and when we first said that, the first thing I did was open Next Spaceflight because my initial reaction was can't be true, and then I looked at Next Spaceflight, clicked on past, and we were like, yeah, you're right. That's just like my initial reaction was disbelief. I was like, oh, there has to be like some Chinese or like some other launch that is in there. But so far there wasn't. It's really all SpaceX and March so far. There are some non-SpaceX launches coming up, to be fair. There's the Rocket Lab launch, which is coming up, although it's Rocket Lab. There's always the chance that there might be a sudden delay because Electron has done that in the past, where they just delay by a week or so suddenly. And we have the Kairos launch, and we have a Long March to C. So I believe this week will be the end of the SpaceX March dominance, but we are getting there.
Yeah, I just thought it was wild when I clicked on past launches and all Falcon 9.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy if you think about the global launch statistics every time, and then you see like first place SpaceX, and then second and third places are countries. So SpaceX is literally like winning against countries, which is it's a dominance we have I think never seen before in the space sector. Which
Yeah, I think
it's
this
crazy.
year SpaceX seems to be on track as of right now. If you assume no increase in cadence, which I know is not a good assumption, to be right around 130 launches for the year. So that's a lot more than last year, 30% more than last year. Yet we'll still be a little short of their 148 goal.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and I think China has said in their in recent statements that they are targeting around 100 launches out of China this year. So SpaceX will beat the whole area of China by quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, wow. So yesterday's second Starlink launch, 7-17, was the 46th orbital launch attempt of 2024 and SpaceX's 24th mission. So they're over 50% of all missions this year.
That's crazy. So we will have the 25, which will be the Starlink on Wednesday, and then 26 potentially Starship. If my math here is correct.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm sh-
24 plus 2. I'm quite sure it's correct.
The question is, how many more Starlink missions will SpaceX be able to squeeze in? I imagine they won't be able to squeeze one in before Starship, but because 644, I believe, is from 39A. Yeah, it is from 39A. So maybe there could be another one from Slick 40, but you would have to ask Alex. He follows all those
No.
missions.
Actually, I know. They are converting Slick 40 right now for Dragon. So that means Slick 40 is down until the launch of CRS SpaceX 30, which is on March 21st.
I forgot that this was going to be the first Dragon 2 launch out of Slick 40.
Yeah, it's 2 Starlinks until then from 39A, which 644 and 642. And then it's CRS 30.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Also, there we can see the ship QD, or like, I shouldn't say QD, it's technically not a QD system, it's more a fueling system here, I would say. Because this system is more about getting it fueled. There's no quick disconnect on these pads anymore. They are not flying. So, you can see, but the frost ring is still rising. Everything's looking well. Daniel Narian asking, when should we expect a Ship 29 rollback if the spin prime is successful today? That's an interesting question because there's a lot, I feel like, technicalities and potential. Yeah, Trevor, do you think there will be a rollback of Ship 29?
Yeah, I don't think SpaceX will want to leave it where it is for flight. It just seems like a decent amount of risk to the Flight 4 hardware for not that much gain, right? It doesn't take long to quickly roll it back to the production site. Plus, there's a very decent chance that after they complete this testing and after they get data from Flight 3, that they would want to do some modifications anyway. But then again, I would have said the same thing about SN10 when SN9 flew. And SpaceX elected to leave SN10 out at the pad, and SN9 seems like it was very, very close to sending its nose cone right at SN10, but missed by a little bit, so.
Another vent here. And by the way, I see people saying like, oh, the third flight has not happened. You have a typo in your description. It says fourth flight. No, this is the prototype for the fourth flight. They're just skipping ahead with testing it while the third flight is still not liftoff. And for some people being like, oh, did the third lift off? No, the third is still on the pad. This is the upper stage for the fourth flight that is tested right now. And the third flight is fully stacked on the other pad, on the orbital launch mount, a few meters away. Just to kind of give that overview, because I saw some confusion about that. There, you can actually see both vehicles there. That's the third flight here, the full stack. And to the right next to the tank farm, you can see the fourth flight upper stage.
And Hoppy on the far right.
Yeah, and Hoppy. It's so lovely to see. There you can see the whole launch site with all the prototypes. So calm from a distance. Seems so calm. So let's see here. Question here about actually IFT4. If everything goes well with IFT3, could you see IFT4 go as early as May or June, Trevor?
Ooh, this is a hard one. The first thing that we have to say is this really is dependent on how Flight 3 goes. If Flight 3 is basically flawless, that will definitely accelerate the timeline. If Flight 3 has some major problems and they need to do large retrofits, that could easily push the launch back by, a month or two. My gut feeling is that it's probably on the order of 2.5 months after this flight. So given that we're mid-March, I would say, yeah, maybe around June would be my guess. Like mid to late June.
Yeah, it's always super hard to predict for me before a flight because it's like, well, there's so many factors, right? If I see the sorry, ship 20N, if I see the pad in shambles after the flight, of course that changes my prediction. So there's always a lot of technicalities here and a lot of like asterisks when we predict these because A, we don't have insight in what SpaceX is planning. B, we don't have insight in the regulatory process. So it's like we are just going based on our gut feeling and our experience.
So I have a
Sorry, can we? I'm sorry. This is. I'm curious here right now. We need to look at this frost line a bit because I think the vent stack is going. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not sure. I know production is. But look at that. That's the vent stack.
And the vent stack is typically a sign of defueling operations.
Yeah, which is surprisingly like I will have a very don't think this is an abort yet. We will. There's always a chance that something changed, like something didn't go right. But this is at least. I would at least classify this as strange.
Yeah.
This is not the vent we want to see at this point. And I was like triple checking if that is really the vent stack, but yeah, this is the vent stack. So just to recap for everybody, vent stack was the former flare stack. The flare stack was used before the recondensing of methane was integrated, and it kinda is the bringer of bad news on the suborbital pad. So this is an interesting situation to watch right now. As we are observing this.
Very interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I will observe the frost line here. I think there we see it. I think the next step here really is to observe the frost line and just let's see what happens.
I feel like when it's a detank, there's normally more gas coming out of that stack than is right now.
Yeah, and I totally. So, Trevor, I'm looking at the right side here right now with the frost line because you can see it's rising. You can see how it was initially not touching the TPS tiles there on the right side, and now it is. So, I do not think this is a detank yet. It's just weird vents trying to throw us off. Which
Let's A/B test.
Yeah, I can already tell you it's still rising. You look at the tiles on the right. The tiles on the right are the best indicator here.
Oh yeah, it's definitely still going up.
Yeah. I love somebody's suggesting another title for this. SpaceX tests NSF's reaction to random vents ahead of Flight 4.
So, Adrian, I was going back to the question that we were talking about when you first noticed the stack venting, about when IFT4 is going to be. So the other day on one of our streams, I think it was Alex, Jack, and I don't even remember when it was. We were thinking, do you foresee a situation where if IFT3 goes very well, SpaceX stops flying until they have Starship V2 ready?
I think only if they find a major problem in V1. Like if they find something that prevents them from reaching further goals in V1. For example, if like something in the heat shield design or something in their whole overall flight plan design just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way I could see this. But that's really that's the only thing. Everything else, I wonder even if they would. I would be very surprised. Let's say it like that. What do you think?
I think I agree. I think SpaceX likes data, so they probably want more data. But the one slight counter argument I thought of is SpaceX for a while has been talking about performing fairly large GSC upgrades. And we've seen them start to do these between flights, but would it give them... Would they be able to just do massive GSC overhaul while they, take a little bit of time to focus on chip upgrades? I don't know. I don't think there's zero chance,
Yeah.
but I think it's unlikely.
I mean, to be fair, like focusing on chip upgrades, it's not really taking away anything from them focusing on chip, right? It's like that's happening in the production side, and the testing happens on the launch side. So I wonder if it even would influence that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how easy or not it is for them to, really switch from the vertical tanks that you can see on screen right now to the right of Ship 29 to the more hot dog style tanks that they've been talking about switching to for a long time, and we've started seeing them switch to those.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm really curious here. I like the question because it's also again involving tons of technicalities and tons of potential. So we will just have to wait and see. But yeah, right now they want to ask for more. They ask for some crazy numbers like 9 launches, which I think we both agree 9 launches is very ambitious.
I do not think there is any chance that SpaceX could launch 9 times this year of Starship.
Yeah, I mean we are right now in the middle of March and we are approaching 1.
Yeah.
So that would mean basically having a monthly cadence from here on out, which I have a hard time to see. So we'll see. But I'm always open to be surprised by SpaceX. Let's be real, but I don't see it. I'm hearing we might get some Starship knowledge joining us very soon here. But before that happens, I quickly want to thank some people here. With Daniel Barton becoming a new Padret member, thank you so much. With Richie Mason giving us a super chat saying, just had a wisdom tooth out, so here's 230. I wish you a quick recovery from that wisdom teeth, and I didn't like mine being removed. And Trevor, you had yours also not so long ago removed, right?
I had wisdom teeth removed 3 separate times. 2 of them were like a few months ago, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Quick recovery. Wishing you the best. Rusty Android with super chat saying S29 getting frosty indeed. Valeni with a story message saying fly, fly, fly. We all want that, and also getting the patch. Thank you so much. Also, Rusty Android with a $5 super chat saying, SpaceX, let's play. Can the community guess what's happening now? That's the name of the game. We are now joined by probably the best person I could imagine to ask what's happening here, and if I should be confused by Vence, which is Mr. Alejandro Alcantarilla Romero. Alex, how you doing?
Well, for once, I actually don't know what's going on because I have been a bit busy with things. You'll find out soon what I've been busy with. So what is going on? What else? I see a vehicle is frosty. That's Ship 29 and
Alex,
venting.
Is that the vent stack? Is that a bad sign stack, or am are we stupid with vents here?
I don't know. Has the ship depressed or just vent regularly? See, that's the key thing.
The weird thing is the frost line is still rising, but the vent stack is going.
Then it is okay. Yeah. The problem will be if the ship does its usual depress vent, long venting of all the tanks, and we see that frost going down, and then the vent stack goes off. That's when it's actually a bit of trouble. But it's usual to see it venting sometimes as they keep loading. But yeah, I see it's frosty. We are about 30 minutes into the stream. What else has happened?
Trevor, do you want to give Alex a quick recap of what we are looking at?
Yeah, so just the usual preparations as we march toward spin prime. The LOX line on ship has been slowly rising. As Adrian mentioned, we've seen a few vents from vehicle, but nothing to signify an abort yet, especially as Alex just clarified that the venting that we see in the middle of our screen from the what used to be the flare stack is completely fine. So hopefully continuing on toward the journey toward a spin prime of ship 29 here in a bit.
I like the correct use of the word toward there. I noticed that. You didn't
No
say
ass.
towards.
Well.
Yep. He is the master of style guide after all. So there we go. Let's see here. We're getting way more questions here, and I'm looking forward to which one I'm asking next. And so there's a question here about the heat shield tiles and why they are not in a straight line like the old designs. So I'm bringing you in here, Alex. What's the most likely reason for the current heat shield design, and why did they use this layout? Do you have any thoughts on that?
In a straight line.
I'm also thinking about that right now because this was always the pattern, right?
Oh, they may be referring to the outline, essentially, like where the ship heat shield tiles end.
Oh.
Well, the reason for that is I'm guessing that in the early designs they were not accounting for some of the particular geometries of the ship. If you look at the boy, words are hard. At the flaps, for example, the geometry that they have, you kind of need some protection in the leeward side of things. When you see, for example, the aft flaps, and you see some of the heat shield tiles coming over the front as well, it's kind of natural to think about that when you see the geometry of how the aero cover goes around. So once you introduce that into the equation, then you can see why it's not straight, and so you have some of these patches of tiles going into the leeward side. It is not a straight line kind of thing, which I'm mostly sure that's probably what they mean. And yeah, early designs, early renders kind of showed that. But again, we kind of saw that as well with Falcon 9 and Dragon, where early renders and early sort of simulations of how they will look like eventually that's not what they look like in the future, or rather, I should say, in the present now that they are fully developed. So, but who knows? Maybe we'll see that on the ship as well. We'll see some of that being trimmed back, and as they fly more and more, they get to learn more about how they can save some tiles here and there, because that might be expensive to have to put all of those. If you can trim a few of those back, that's really important.
There we go. We are getting a question here about the current turnaround and the current operations. And Steve McCravey is asking, Trevor, stacking ships seems to take too long for allowing a 1 hour turnaround. Will they at some point mount a booster and just stack and restack until they figure it out faster?
Well, my hot take is I don't think we're ever going to see a 1 hour or sub 1 hour turnaround. Even fueling just takes at this point like 50 minutes or so. So the schedule or the time margin they have for that is just so low that I don't see it happening even long term. Right? Elon always talks about airliner-like operations, and even most airliners don't get turned around in an hour. To be fair, that's mostly because of like loading and unloading, but still. I think that's a very optimistic thing that SpaceX wants to do. And
the whole loading and unloading would also apply to Starship, right? It's like, Yeah, you still would get the same situation. So yeah, I don't see sub 1 hour. Like I think if you reach a Starship a point where you get sub 1 day, that's already mind blowing. That's yeah. I think already that's that's I think already would achieve a lot of the goals. So yeah. Let's wait and see what's actually happening, but 1 hour sounds fairly optimistic.
Speaking of
Let's see.
fueling,
Go ahead.
I have a preliminary kind of timeline here. I went back. I used that sort of question to be able to go through here on the stream, also on Starbase Live as well, and also on our members multi-view. So I think that in essentially around 8 minutes or so, we're gonna start seeing those engine chill vents at the bottom of the stand. So essentially, once we get close to the test, they start chilling down those engines, and that occurs around 39 minutes after the first signs of frost on the vehicle. Basically, going through the previous timelines that we had from the Ship 28 testing, the aborted test that we had last week with Ship 29. That's sort of how it looked like. And so hopefully we're gonna get that in about 8 minutes or so, perhaps 10, depending on how they're going.
Yep.
Some leeway there.
It's so we'll see. It seems like they're really moving fast in this morning in this test. They kind of went as soon as they could, and thanks also to our people in the field who worked really late yesterday to make sure we also have, for example, this view right now, and some other views that help us this morning. There we go.
They didn't just work super late yesterday. It's been everyone out in the field in Boca has been grinding for Flight 3 coverage, and I have so much respect for everyone down there.
Absolutely, and I saw somebody earlier asking like, "Oh, will there be new cameras for Flight 3?" Yes, there will be some. We are cooking some stuff up as always, and with
That was
we,
a
I mean,
huge spoiler, Adrian.
yeah, it's like we are always doing stuff, and with we, I mean absolutely not the 3 people that you are hearing right now, because I feel like if you let one of us 3 near a camera installing, it's the last moment of this camera.
Oh dear
Probably.
me. Yeah. Don't let me get close to anything that is technology. I can barely use my calculator without breaking it.
I don't want to judge also Trevor here, but I feel like we are probably one of the 3 least qualified people at NSF to install a camera.
I am majoring in math. I think that is just objectively true about me.
You can count the cameras though, right? With math.
Yeah, you're basically bringing it down all the way to the math level, you know. So Charlie Cushing here asking, how do they keep the tank pressure regulating vents from changing altitude or trajectory while in orbit? The vent only seems to keep coming out from one side. So these vents of wood, of course, change a bit how the vehicle behaves in orbit. So do we know how they control that so it doesn't influence trajectory?
Oh, well, while the engines are running, the engines are very much capable of being able to control the trajectory because they have gimbaling. On the ship, it's only the center engines, and on the booster, you have the 13 inner engines. The other 20 do not gimbal. So those are much more than capable of handling that. But once you are in orbit, as the comment alludes to, you also have to take into account other things, and it is that is just the main vent of the liquid oxygen tank. There are actually another 2 vents on that tank that are sort of, we think they're perhaps roll control thrusters. They essentially are because this is the thing. Starship doesn't have like cold gas thrusters or anything like it. It uses its own tank vents to be able to control itself while it is in space. And so depending on what vent, I guess is the correct term, right? depending on which vents you activate, then you have different responses on the vehicle body. And so, for example, there are a pair of vents on the liquid oxygen tank that are smaller. You don't see them being used during ground operations unless there's some kind of depress vent, for example. Then we see them all going off at the same time. But those are essentially like looking out and sort of parallel to the heat shield as well. And those we think are for roll control. There are others that seem to be for pitch and yaw, and those might be, for example, the header tank vents on the nose cone. They have these cowbell vents as well, which might be for that matter. There are others on the aft section as well. There's definitely lots of vents on this vehicle, and sometimes people are like, why will we care about these vents, right? It's just a vent. But at the end of the day, this is the way that the Starship vehicle will handle its attitude control while it is not igniting its engines. So that's a very good question and definitely very, very interesting. We'll see how it actually performs, hopefully with Ship 28 and maybe also Ship 29 as well.
We are right now having a situation in the back channel, by the way, where the people who actually are technologically capable are amused by the thought that Trevor, Alex, and I try to build, for example, our camera trailer. That's the funny idea that is going on in the back channel right now.
No, I don't
I really think
do
it
that.
will. Yeah, that would end in us just electrocuting ourselves. Like that's the most likely outcome here. It's really bad. Like I cannot attach something to my wall without having major problems. Everything above that is already technologically challenging for me. So I rather stick with commentary. Let's see here. I want to thank some more people here, starting with Chris W, gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you so much, Chris. Josh Zero with a $5 super chat. Set Starship on the heat shield side, add train wheels, and set on track rocket power train. Also, there's an anime you might like called Dr. Stone. I'm not sure if Starship would be horizontally stable enough to launch it horizontally on train wheels. Probably not.
I mean, if you're gonna put it horizontal, why not just air launch it?
The thing is, I've already seen the Kerbal creation of an air launching Starship, and I don't want to see that again.
A lot of people using Kerbal just open their sessions.
Yep, it's like I think Harry Stranger did that once. He like drone air launched a Starship with a giant quadrocopter. That was, let's say, interesting. Wilbur Tiberius Baggins with a £5 super chat saying, "Hey NSFers, not bad news, but have to downgrade from flight engineer to pad red hospital for a new need, no choice. I'll be back. No work, no money." First off, Wilbur, best of luck with the surgery. I mean, that's like, I hope you recover fast, and of course, like, never feel like you need to apologize or say something if you like need to change your memberships or you cannot contribute in a financial way. Even liking the stream or just interacting with us is already like that's all we need. Honestly, we love to be here and we love to get the interaction. So everybody that is just here hanging out with us, we love you.
That is always appreciated.
Let's see, one more. That's an interesting one here, Trevor, and I have no good answer to this, but I'm throwing it to you because I don't have a good answer. Noah, with the question, what % of the heat shield tiles could a ship lose and still survive re-entry?
Yeah, that's the question that we're all wanting to know the answer to. And I don't think that percentage is the correct way of looking at this, because I think if you lose, some of the heat shield tiles further back, closer to the edge, you could lose a lot more from there than you necessarily could on, some of the sharp edges, like around the flaps and whatnot. That's where I think any plasma could really start trying to work its way in and rip those control surfaces off. But this is hopefully data that SpaceX is going to gather on this mission. Hopefully they'll make it to the re-entry point. I'm sure there'll be some tiles that will fall off on Ship 28. And then from there, it's time to learn. SpaceX seems to be carrying a lot more about the heat shield on Ship 28 compared to the previous launches that they've had. They spent a few days in testing out each tile. So hopefully we'll see fewer lost, and hopefully that means that for reentry, they'll be able to make it all the way through, or if not, at least collect some very good data.
Yep, that I think like I think even SpaceX would be like kinda not be able to answer this question. A, because Pro totally depends on where you release the details, and B, that's what they want to find out, right? They want to test the heat shield. They want to get to the stage where they can find out how it behaves, what they need to improve, because there are for sure things on this heat shield they can improve. Because it has never been tested so far. So they are for sure things they haven't learned yet, they want to change. They just don't know yet what exactly. So, well, we will see with that, and we will see how this going.
There we go.
Oh,
Engine chill.
engine chill.
Just as predicted. I had the window set up between 34 minutes past the hour or 36 minutes past the hour. It is 36 minutes past the hour, so there we go. Engine chill has started. We should see a test at 7, I think it is 7 minutes past the hour. Yes, so the test should be around 30 minutes from now. So look at your clocks, 30 minutes from now.
I love this view, by the way. I love that when we can peek, like, we'll really be able to see the spin prime here. And not like that one spin prime that we almost missed because it was so hard to watch thanks to wind. That was a weird one. Oh, there's the other engine chill pipe, right? Of the other side.
Mm-hmm.
On the left side, you can see it going strong.
They're venting very healthy, and definitely everything going sort of according to the previous timelines that we saw with Ship 28 and the test that we saw with Ship 29 last Thursday, I believe it was. You know, with all of these craziness of we're approaching the third flight of Starship while also seeing the testing for Flight 4, you know, all of these days just mixed together, and it's complicated to remember.
Am I
Absolutely.
the only one that misses the tri-vent?
No, I miss it. I miss the early vents. I also missed the cowbell vent, which was an indicator.
Oh yeah.
We also had the methane tank vent, which was at T-minus 23 minutes before T0. That's the weird thing. I still have these times in my head. They're like imprinted into my brain. There's like some good childhood memories probably gone because I remember all of this early time data.
I remember when it was the tri-vent, and then we knew, oh, it's gonna be 12 minutes from now. And then when we were approaching the T0, the vents pulsed. You could even see the QD retracting underneath of the vehicle. Those were some good memories.
Yeah, that was cool.
Feels so long ago.
It feels like it's weird. By the way, do we have a frost ring on the methane tank?
Oh yeah.
Might be, yeah. If they're loading a little bit more than usual, then perhaps. But I don't. Yeah, it's hard to see.
Look at that. There is a ring, I think. It's hard to see. I agree. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I really miss these early tests sometimes. They feel like eternity ago, but also very recent in a weird time soup. Yeah. Chris Barnett here asking, why are the engine chill pipes so long and not just come straight out of the side? They probably don't want to have that gas bubbling up there, right? Like, I wonder if they just want to get that gas a bit out there so it doesn't accumulate right under the ship.
Yeah, they have a similar. They have a similar extension. If you see on the full stack, there's essentially extensions on the booster that extend that engine chill pipe down.
Yeah, just to quickly recap the situation, because I see some people are like, oh, could they static fire? Well, in theory, yes, although there has not been an overpressure notice, so the most likely test today will be a spin prime test of the engine, as they are most likely not gonna static fire without an overpressure notice. They had one or two weird tests in the past where that might have happened, but most of the time we can basically say no overpressure notice means no static fire.
And this is sort of the thing that I usually say is that expect a spin prime, but if they static fire, we all welcome it, right? Because it's always such an exciting thing to be able to see Raptors firing. But either way, we love all the testing, right? From spin primes to pre-burners and static fires and whatnot. It's always very welcome because that means a new ship is essentially being prepared for a new flight. And this is all happening before Flight 3 happens, so it's always exciting and also, I guess, a testament of the kind of cadence that SpaceX is trying to achieve, right? With all of this testing already happening before the previous stack flies.
Yep, absolutely. We like more stacks and more ships, more better. So let's get them ready. Another one. Let me thank some more people here, starting with Matt with a £10 super chat saying, wouldn't you be putting a new ship on the booster, as the ship wouldn't be coming back to the same location, so you could have a few ships lined up ready for just the booster, so only booster fueling? Yeah, but I still don't think they will achieve 1 hour turnaround with boosters. That's my honest take. Anybody here thinking they will?
It's gonna be really complicated. I don't see that happening. I can see, like, in a matter of like single digit hours. I think that's possible, but within an hour, you gotta count just for the fueling itself, right? Because it lands, now you gotta position it on the OLM, and then you gotta start fueling it. So yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah, it would need significant optimization in the flow, like another big jump. Thomas C here with a $6.99 super chat saying, do you think Ship 29 will be moved back to the production site of the launch for the launch of IST3? Trevor, you already said that earlier. Like, what's your guess on will Ship 29 stay there for Flight 3?
Yeah, in my opinion, no. It just seems like too much risk. Like, why risk your Flight 4 vehicle by having it so close? So that I think they may as well roll it back, especially since if they complete both spin prime and static fire testing this week, it's very possible that SpaceX would be done with the initial testing and want to go perform any retrofits that are needed. And some new retrofits will probably be needed after Flight 3. So it just makes more sense, in my opinion, to have a ship be ready at the production site to receive any of those.
Anonymous getting a ton of stuff from our store saying, love watching what y'all do. Keep up the great work. 3rd time's the charm. And let's quickly look at here. And we have the metal print of the Starbase surfer. Really cool. We have an Orbital Flight 3 patch, which you're getting like... there is a part of me that is worried that we won't reach the Flight 3 patches on... We won't have that much left on the actual flight, because they are getting quite... Like, we are selling out fast. You guys really love the Flight 3 patch, so I hope you enjoy this.
That engine chill pipe is gushing
It's
out.
going strong.
Yeah, look at that. It's amazing.
But there's some engine chilling.
Yeah, is there a possibility to like zoom in a little bit this more? Because, man, that's almost hypnotic, I guess. Yeah.
So there are these lo-fi videos on YouTube, right? And Alex just has a different version of this. It's like 12 hours of engine chill pipe to relax and write scripts to. That's the Alex kind of video. There it is. There's the engine chill pipe. You can always see how it's still like liquid Like this is
Yeah.
oxygen, right?
Yeah, this is oxygen that they flow through the engine. Again, this is a very similar thing that we always mention with Falcon 9 and the T-20 event when they flow liquid oxygen through the Stromback. Here at Starbase, we have the OLM vent and the tower vent. They flow that liquid oxygen through, and they have like an exit vent, essentially where all of that gaseous oxygen comes through. But here, obviously, for the engine chill, a similar thing happens as well. The methane is recaptured, and the liquid oxygen is just dumped overboard, because you can essentially do that. It just mixes up with the air, and as long as there's nothing flammable out there, it should be safe to go. And so that is what you see there. It's really cold, though. I wouldn't touch that or be any near to it. That's why there's no one around. That's why they clear the pad. They have all of these safety measures in place. So yeah. But
That
it's
and
totally
the
normal.
potential for a rapid unscheduled disassembly. I mean, just saying. Astro95 Media with a $10 super chat here. Weather trending a bit more positively for Thursday. Fingers crossed for a liftoff. Heading to Starbase Wednesday morning. Alex, I know you looked at the weather yesterday. I know we talked about this at yesterday. I think 5 a.m. this morning. So
Yeah, closely to that. 5 a.m. this morning. It looks like it'll be a bit cloudy, though. That is sort of the main concern that I have, which will probably not be a concern for a flight, which, now that I say that, it's also a concern again, because they could fly and it'll be cloudy, and that is not good for us, that we want to actually look at the thing, right? But in terms of the actual launch, like it kind of looks like there's not a lot of huge winds. It doesn't look like the other sort of aspects will be a problem. I've seen some other models. I'm not a meteorologist or anything like it, but I have at least enough knowledge, I guess, to interpret some of those. I've seen some of the high winds at altitude. Basically, it seems like they are not going to be a problem for that. So it'll probably be good for a flight. The problem is, will it be good for viewing the flight? And so that is not right now the main question, I guess.
there we go. Yeah, So, Trevor, would you rather have a delayed flight for good weather, or would it go early and have bad weather, like visibility?
What is the worst Starship suborbital flight test by far? SN11.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Why? We couldn't see a single thing. I would be really, really bummed if SpaceX launches in conditions where we cannot see anything.
I am still so mad about SN11 because I think it was the coolest explosion of the Starship program by far. Because based on what we have gathered and what has probably happened, we saw a whole liberation of the engine section, kinda. So we saw like a mid-flight boom from the engine section, which we didn't see.
We saw nothing.
Yeah, correction. That's what happened. Nobody saw it, and that still makes me mad because it's probably.
Did the Starship actually explode if no one was there to see it?
Yeah, it's sad. It's annoying me every time I think about it. It's annoying me. Jay Keegan here with a £5 super chat saying, for the Fly Adrian, Trevor, and Alex to Starbase to build trailer V2 fund.
No, Jay, go back to operating the stream. I mean, really?
Yeah,
come on.
Are you not like literally operating the stream right now, Jay?
Yeah.
Also, you forgot the Oxford comma, which is really annoying me.
Whoa! You forgot the Oxford comma. So now it's gonna be. What else are you gonna do, Trevor?
I love how basically Jay disses us on a we have no technical knowledge level, and we are like, let's fire back with Oxford comma. It's like it's the weapon we have.
I don't know how
on the.
people think that it's better to not use the Oxford comma. It just looks so bad. I hate it.
You can see that this has quite some heated option in the writing teams. It's a thing. It's a thing. So let's see here. Alex, mind giving us a quick rundown of where we are in this test?
Yeah, so right now we are essentially waiting for that engine testing. Again, we sort of think that it'll be a spin prime, but I definitely welcome a static fire as well. Not gonna lie. And so we are looking at potentially between 15 and 20 minutes from that test. We had the frost appearing at around 8:55 a.m. Central or thereabouts. The engine chill came out at around 9:36, 9:37. So that was definitely an interesting sort of. There you see that engine chill already undergoing and well underway, and so the next thing is the test. Again, I'm sort of tracking these times. It looks to be around 10:07 a.m. Central. So basically, as I was saying before, 7 minutes past the hour. We are currently 9:51 a.m. Central. So in about 16 minutes from now.
There we go. And we're also getting a lot of question about the next flight, Trevor. So do you mind giving us a quick rundown where we are in potentially seeing a Starship launch this Thursday?
Yeah, so SpaceX has announced that they are targeting no earlier than Thursday for the next flight of Starship, which is, of course, the stack that you see on screen right now. Booster 10, Ship 28. The window for that opens at 7 p.m. local, so 7 p.m. Central Time, that is now UTC -5, so that is noon UTC, correct, Alex? Okay, I guess Alex.
Yes,
Yeah.
it will be noon UTC 2-hour window.
Yep, 2-hour window. There are backup opportunities available later in the week, so I believe there's one on Friday with the same window, and then also this weekend with a shorter window. If SpaceX has mentioned that the flight is pending regulatory approval, so that's the big watch item at this time, is when will the FAA release the launch license for this flight. The FAA has announced that they have completed the mishap investigation report with SpaceX, and SpaceX had to complete 17 corrective items ahead of Flight 3. We believe that all of those items have been completed, but we do not have official confirmation from the FAA or SpaceX from that. So currently everything is looking good for a launch on Thursday. From a hardware perspective, we'll see about regulatory, which seems to be the long lead item right now, but it will not be a big delay by any stretch of the imagination. I think if SpaceX is unable to go on Friday or on Thursday, it'll be a few days of a delay and not a week or months or anything like that.
There we go. And if you want to get more up to date with the launch coming up on Thursday, I want to make sure that you all know about Countdown to Launch, our show where we talk about all Starship things leading up to the next flight, which the next episode is at 4 p.m. Eastern today, with Lon hosting, and we will have Trevor and Ryan Weber on that episode. So
No, it's actually Countdown to Lon, because it's going to be hosted by Lon, right?
Moving on to the vents here that we can see here, Alex. We can see vents here to the left and right. These are always a good sign, right? When we see these.
Yeah, I really don't know what they all mean, but they tend to be towards the final 10 minutes of the count here for these tests. So it's good to see them.
So we
I wish
are.
I knew what they were for, though.
Yeah, it's. Can we get guidelines? Can we get like a labeling from SpaceX once? Like, this is the reason why we have these. There we can see the engine area of Ship 29, where we will see a spin prime, hopefully, about 10 minutes from now. So let's see how it progresses until then. until then, let's hit some more questions here. Which is, and Byron Neal here asking, how much O2 actually does it take to chill these engines? I do not believe we have not really the number, but it's less than it looks like, right? Because with the venting and everything going crazy, it always looks way more than it actually is that they actually vent.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you have some of those going out, it kind of looks like there's more than there actually is. Yeah, I'm looking for now that we're seeing these vents from the engine skirt on the ship. I'm wondering if we're also gonna see from the header tanks. We normally tend to see those towards the end of the countdown, so to speak. So I wonder if we'll get those, and that'll be very, very interesting.
Trevor, do we also see CH4 loading? And the follow-up question here is also, why so little methane loading?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of CH4 loaded onto the vehicle, but SpaceX doesn't want to load any more than they need, since all that's adding is more potential boom for, a test that they just don't need that propellant for. So they want to keep CH4 load to a minimum, which is why we generally don't even see a frost line on the methane tank, because it's just so little that it fills up the downcomer, and then the top little bit of the methane, or the very bottom of the methane tank where the dome is, generally doesn't even reach past the top of the dome.
There we go. And I believe we also are falling for a slight optical illusion here a bit with some comments in chat. Somebody saying like, why is the LOX load all like the LOX tank full for this test? It's not. If you if we go to the close-up view again, which is there you can see where the LOX actually is. There's two lines here. You can see the frosty tank. That's just because the tank temperature dropped. And then you have a lower line, like about 1/3 to 1.5 of the tank up. That's where the LOX actually is. That's where liquid oxygen is touching the tank wall. So it's not the full tank that is full here. It's just about half. And that's about roughly what we expect for a spin prime.
Yeah. This is essentially what we will see for this sort of test. And as Adrian was mentioning, you can see two different types of frost. The reason for the other frost is because we see those kind of vents that are coming off from that liquid oxygen tank, and so we usually see that. One of the changes that has come up here with Ship 28 and Ship 29 is that now the liquid oxygen tank, the main tank vents, there's only one actually. I should say vent in singular because it's only one, and it's only located in one side. So sometimes today that is not the case, but sometimes you may see the tank like partially frosty, that secondary frost, that sort of thinner frost that occurs from essentially when you vent out the pressure inside of the tank, you get that that coolness effect, I guess, that cooling effect. Not coolness. It's cool, sure, but not that kind of cool. It's cool in terms of that it gets colder, and as you release that pressure. So because it is one side of the tank, usually you see more frost on the left side of the ship than on the right-hand side of the ship, which is interesting, but it's to be expected when you have only one vent on the tank on one side. Sometimes it eventually evens out and you don't see it. It kind of also depends on the conditions. I believe I'm seeing the header tank venting at the top. You can see it like a little bit there at the top of the nose cone. Like almost to the top, maybe 1/3 down from the tip on the left.
Yeah, so they are loading something in the head tanks, which is like usually they tend to do that for these tests, where they tend to load something into the header tanks. There we go.
Both are venting. That's interesting.
So we have load in the header tanks now. Let's see here. The test is certainly approaching closer. The engine chill vent is still going strong. But it's yeah, we are certainly approaching the test here. And we are getting closer and closer. Is the thrust vector control system on this ship all electric, or is it still hydraulic, Trevor?
It's all electric. Ever since Ship 26, SpaceX moved ships from hydraulic to electric TVC, and they seem to be happy with that. It performed very well on Booster 9. So every vehicle going forward is expected to keep that design.
There we go. And of course, as a person and as we all watch the preparation for the first Starship flight with the hydraulic units on the booster, there's the header tank vent, by the way. Beautiful.
Yep, there we go.
So always interesting to see. But yeah, as a person that also watched the hydraulic units on Flight 1 with a lot of time, yeah, I'm glad hydraulic is gone on this ship. I'm glad it's electric, because these hydraulic units were replaced like once a week.
Yeah.
Or at least opened.
It simplifies a lot the operations when you don't have those hydraulic power units, when you don't need to have another fluid going onto the vehicle. And also it simplifies a lot the mass as well, because you only have the electric servos essentially going directly to move the engine, rather than having to rely on multiple indirect paths to get to actually moving the ship, right? Not the ship, the engines. So it's really much better in that sense. And speaking of much better, we're gonna get much better in 5 minutes or so, because that's when I'm predicting the test will happen. So hopefully that'll be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. We are starting to get into this really late end business end of the countdown, which is, to be fair, the time where last time the test seemingly went into an issue. So we are standing by now for, of course, seeing what SpaceX may be fixed, or like at least if they fixed it, and if they are able to get further into the countdown. Because if I remember correctly, we reached last time also the stage where we are like, oh, it should get very close to firing now, and then it just didn't. So let's see if that is the case. The last time, it seems engine chill is almost done, because you can see the engine already, like the engine chill pipe is no longer going crazy. Usually what now happens is it goes completely crazy, because as a commentator, I said the opposite. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
Yeah, now it'll go crazy and you'll be proven wrong and a liar, right?
Yeah, it's always the exact opposite.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get to see. We're approaching 4 minutes from what I expect to be the time of the test. The thing that you should see approaching that. See, it's exactly that. The thing that we should see approaching to that is there's going to be a little bit of water coming out from the bottom here of this stand. They have like a hose. I wouldn't call it a deluge, to be fair, because it's just like a hose with water coming out from it, and it's probably just to protect the concrete underneath. For this test, for a spin prime, they still use it. I don't really know why, but I'm guessing that it's just to keep everything in check, keep using it, because why not? And make sure that it still works. So obviously, once that water comes out, we're gonna be quiet and see what happens. But definitely very, very interesting to see whether it's actually spin prime or a static fire test. And we're gonna figure that out in just a few more minutes.
Yeah, I also want to point out, because there are cars driving in the background, and people are like, "Oh, it's the road." Oh, no, that's the road in front of the production site there. Like that's the road that leads actually to the production site. The angle we are seeing here is the production site is, I think, even a bit more to the right here. So this is not the path of the road that leads to the pad. So don't worry, road is still closed.
Yeah, you can see one of the support buildings that SpaceX has to the right of the stand there, but it's in the background essentially, and so yeah, that is far away.
Is that the ground fabrication building?
I believe
I
that's
wonder.
where they had the Starlink satellites.
Oh, I thought it's the ground fabrication, but either way, we are getting close to this test, and let's of course make sure we observe it, as we might just be like 2 to 3 minutes away here. Do they ignite the pre-burners for a spin prime test?
Nope.
Yeah, nope. They don't do that.
That would be a pre-burner test when they ignite just one of the pre-burners. For a spin prime test, they just run a little bit of liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps, and that's sufficient.
There we go. So it's kind of like the step before the pre-burner would happen. So let's see here. Why don't we see testing yet of Ship 29's? Oh,
there we go. Water.
and that is what appears to be a spin prime test of Ship 29.
It looked like all 6 engines to me.
Indeed.
Yep. Was I the only one that was worried for a second that was a static fire? Like, I'm always worried that there is an ignition.
The
You can
static
see
fire
there-
seems always a little bit more powerful with the initial flow for the spin prime section of it.
Yeah. Really nice to see all of that. To be fair, because it looked really good. I saw all of the individual 6 plumes from those engines.
Yeah, that certainly like was one of the best views we ever got for a spin prime, I would say. Like that was just prime views.
And of course, we'll be working on replays. Is that the depress vent? Yeah, that sounds like it.
That's the depress vent. Yes, we are working replays, guys.
Yeah, we'll do our usual analysis of what are we seeing and things like that. We'll also laugh about that water that came out. Because that was a bit funny.
Why do they even use water?
I don't know. They like to use it anyway, so it's good. Let them use it, because that tells us when the test is about to happen. So I won't complain.
Yeah, but you don't need to suppress a spin prime.
It's okay. It's okay. Let them use it.
You can see here it's a full depress, because the high pitch noise in the background gets higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
Almost like an empty can.
Now. Yeah, hopefully that means that the test was successful. We had usually in the past, when the test happened and the depress immediately. So this depress happened like about a minute after the test. When you see that a test goes wrong or is aborted mid test, it sometimes happens immediately as the test just is completed, right? This happened about a minute afterwards, so it's usually a sign that things were kind of in the right approach, I guess, or trajectory. I don't know how to properly express it, but you kind of get the idea, right? And so yeah, we'll see if SpaceX now moves into static fire operations, hopefully in the near term. But yeah, man, can you imagine? We're gonna get into the 3rd flight with a ship for the 4th flight already tested by then. Hopefully that'll be the case, of course.
Yeah, so Trevor, do you expect a static fire the next 2 days?
I think so. It just seems so on brand for SpaceX to have this testing done before Flight 3. Right, we've seen quite little work being done on the full stack the last day or so, which leads me to think that it's probably kind of already in a launch position. We saw SpaceX install the flight termination system on both ship and booster, and that seems to have been fully closed out now. And then, aside from that, nothing, which makes me, I don't know, it makes me think that they don't really need to do much more work, so why not do work on Shift 29?
Yep. Of course, that's kind of annoying for our infield crews because they cannot go to certain cameras because the road is closed. So I hope they get some more time with open roads. That's my hope here. I want to thank Mark Mapleback becoming a Capcom member. That gives you access to our Discord. So make sure to join that if you have time for that. Josh Zero with a $5 super chat. Someone should fill the Starship cargo bay with Reese's cups just cause why not? I'm not. Don't waste some nice candy to go to space. Just eat it.
I love Reese's peanut butter cups.
I'm allergic to peanut butter, and sometimes I regret it. Ryan C with a $5 super chat. Might be a noob question, but can there be coding that could be used instead of tiles? That's totally not that's a very valid question, Trevor. What's the advantage of tiles over a coding or a paint? Why do you use tiles?
Yeah, so the whole point of the heat shield is to thermally isolate the vehicle from all of the plasma in front of it. So these tiles need to be very resilient to heat, and there are several ways that you can kind of do that. The first is to have a more ablative design like Dragon has, where the heat shield absorbs the heat and then it flakes away, removing the heat from the heat shield. And that has the advantage that in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively simple. However, it of course is not great if you're wanting to reuse your heat shield. So then the other idea, if you on something like Shuttle, is to have the tiles absorb the heat, and then they just kind of slowly radiate it over time. And that was quite successful on Shuttle, and Starship is more of a hybrid where it somewhat does both. But it's very, very difficult to have those properties in something that is not ceramic like heat shield tiles normally are. And it would just be a very hard problem, and for the meantime, SpaceX has just elected to go for a more traditional heat shield design.
There we go. Hope that answers your question. Also, Ryan C gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you so much. Josh Zero with another $5 super chat. Should they have removed Ship 29 for? Should they have to remove Ship 29 for IFT because the shockwave may damage it? Yeah. I've not asked Alex yet. Alex, do you think Ship 29 will be removed?
Well, I will say we cannot discard any possibility here, right? I do think it's gonna be removed, but don't be surprised if it doesn't, because who knows, right? SpaceX may try some wild things here, where they test if the ship survives the launch. Obviously, it needs to survive, right? In the future, that should be a thing where if you have a few launch pads close together, of course it has to survive, right? But it's probably too early to have that figured out, or rather risking these vehicles to test that. And so I'm expecting them to remove it and roll it back to the production side. But those things can be done fairly quickly. If you can think about today being the spin prime, you could imagine maybe tomorrow perhaps being the static fire test for this ship, and then maybe overnight it was removed from the stand, and then it is rolled back to the production site, for example. So that's one thing that you could think about. Even if it is perhaps on Wednesday, they will still have time to be able to roll it back to the production site on time for that flight on Thursday morning.
There we go. Aurora with a store message here. I'm so excited to see how much SpaceX has improved on flight test 3. SpaceX is way for us to get to space the right way. I'm looking forward to the improvement as well on flight 3. I was quite surprised by the changes from flight 1 to flight 2, so I'm looking forward to be surprised again. And also got the patch, and enjoy that patch. David with a story message here saying, thank you for your live coverage. Thanks for being with us in the live coverage. That's, again, the most important thing, that we get questions and if people interacting with us. That's really helping us. Chris K with another $10 for the, here's an extra $10 for Adrian, Trevor, and Alex Trailer V2 fund. Not gonna happen. It's a security risk, honestly. Carson with a story message. I'm driving down there on Wednesday. What's the best place to view the launch and when should I get there? Oh, there was actually, I saw notes about that. So there is this beach, that name I always forgot.
Isla Blanca?
Isla Blanca Park, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be there like already in the night. I think it opens at 3 a.m. if I remember correctly. But please look that up on social media. I know they posted on social media. But that's I think what I read. It's 3 a.m. I looked it up. Isla Blanca Park opens on 3 a.m. On the 14th. So you should be there early, even earlier than that, because there will be quite a queue. So just so you know, but that's probably the best way to view it at South Padre Isle. In general, South Padre Isle and Port Isabel are the two best places to probably view it, because you cannot be in Boca, and Brownsville is too far inland to really well see it. So that's probably your best chance. Doug Martin with a $5 super chat. I had a thought about Chip 26. Maybe they will use it to test the new test pad at Massey's rather than using flight hardware. But I don't have any bad feelings about this theory. I don't.
Well, we'll see if Chip 26 survives, right? Until they finish that test pad. We'll see.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe they actually scrap it. They are already starting to take things apart from Booster 4. So we'll see.
Yep. And also remember, I think it's right now spring break. So South Padre Isle is quite full, by the way, just to note that. To the previous question, because it's a busy area right now. Thomas C with the $10 super chat here. Why did they do spin prime still? Surely they have enough data on the Raptors by now. Trevor, why do they do spin prime still?
I think them having a lot of data on Raptors is precisely why they do spin primes. They're easily able to validate if they'll think that the engine will be able to do a successful static fire. So do a lower risk test to get that data, and then if it looks good, go move to the static fire test, where they further validate the engine. And this is nothing unprecedented when it comes to SpaceX. They've launched over 300 Falcon 9 missions now, hundreds in a row successfully, and yet they still do a static fire of every single Merlin engine by itself at McGregor, and then as the full core in McGregor, and they test every single second stage. So even with a far simpler, far more mature engine, this is just what SpaceX wants to do.
There we go. It's basically their way of like quality insurance. So yeah, I mean, I like it. We get more tests make it more exciting for us. So that's nice. I believe we have some replays from the previous spin prime here. Starting with of course, this angle. I love it.
The water.
You can clearly see the sex engines all firing. I hear music. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, that was. I still can't get over the water. And there's the white shot. You can really see, again, all 6 engines spin priming here. and which usually also indicates we will most likely get a 6-engine static fire, which we expect. But just to point that out, like usually a spin prime of a certain amount of engines follows the static fire of a certain amount of engines historically. There you can see just some white cloud emitting.
Clouds. Lots of clouds. And music.
Yep. You can, like, it always seems so small next to Starship, but these clouds and, like, the amount of gas that is just emitted there in a quick succession is quite enormous. It's, I mean, it's basically like showing a good flow rate through your Raptors, so there's quite a lot of material that moves through Raptors in a short amount of time. And
They're very hungry engines.
Yeah, very, very hungry. There we go. I love this. It's visually pleasing. It's a very beautiful day in Boca. Like, the sun is really helping to make these angles extra special. Certainly one of the most beautiful spin primes we have seen so far with all the cameras. And again, shout out to the team that made sure we get these by deploying these cameras late in the night.
They were very late in the night deploying cameras. I can attest that.
Yep, and we will make sure, of course, to like if this happens again, then we will, and of course, if they get moved into spin prime, static fire, and everything, we will be live. That's for sure. Let me thank some more people here, starting with David Lane saying bacon. That's the message. Bacon. Tyler Bell.
I'm no Jack, but I like bacon too.
I mean, it's a good thing to have.
Trevor will probably be like, "Oh, that's disgusting."
Bacon is absolutely disgusting. I smell it, and I'm like, I have no idea how people eat this.
There you go.
I think it's overrated. I don't like. I don't think it's as good as its reputation. There we go. I'm in the middle here. Tyler Bell with the $4.99 super chat. Why don't we see testing of Ship 29's booster yet?
Well, to test the booster, you kind of need the OLM, and well, the OLM has it's a bit busy right now. It's occupied. So yeah, that'll have to be after the flight. We'll get back to that in a few more weeks. I'm really sure. So don't worry, Booster 11 will probably go out there in just a few weeks. We'll cover that as well, of course. We always cover those things.
Of course, like if the booster test campaign especially, I mean, it leads to 33 engines. We like 33 engines.
On that same note, when Flight 4? There we go. I'm putting you two on the spotlight here.
Flight 4 in June.
Yeah, I think like mid-June is a realistic net date.
Yeah, I think there will be a path maybe for late May, but I'm also thinking June. Essentially 3 months or so between Flight 3 and 4. But hey, if they do it faster than that, I mean, I'm not gonna complain. Only that, well, we're probably gonna take we're gonna have to rush a few things, right, Adrian?
Yeah, I would like to have May or June, please.
Yeah.
don't do April.
Boy, April will be quite a thing.
Yeah. Chris with a store message here. Congrats on the spin prime of Ship 29. Give my boy Ship 26 some love. It's looking good in the rocket garden. There you go. The Roger Talk with a $5 super chat saying, Silly Goose, the run border to keep all the processes in place, muscle memory, good you guys are awesome. Yeah, it could be just to check out while you're doing the check, why not test your deluge system? Totally valid point here.
Alternatively, maybe SpaceX wanted to make the world's quickest ice maker.
Good point. Good point. I mean, that water is certainly getting frosty there quite fast. But to be fair, it's also Texas, so it's quickly turning into the world's fastest water maker again.
They could have ice cream makers with that.
Yeah, it's
Just
like
saying,
it's
SpaceX.
like spin prime ice cream
Mm-hmm.
powered by Raptors. I would like that. Maybe remove the igniters before putting that into a restaurant. Finder Enlil with a $5 super chat. Do you guys think aerogels will be used on production Starship insulating the heptiles and tanks? I am not an expert on aerogels. I will fully admit that. So I'm
the
not sure if
aerogel,
anybody
yeah.
is. I'm not. I don't want to speak on something I have no deep knowledge on.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
no idea.
I don't know. You know, for these things of insulating stuff and keeping things in check, it could be really cool to have someone speak about that, right? Of keeping things cool and everything.
Yep. Anonymous with a store message. There are still about 4 holes in my yoga blanket, so keep the test flights coming so I can patch them. I love that we are actively being used to holes in your yoga blanket. I love that. I want to see the final one with like every single patch of like until flight 7 or so, just on a yoga blanket. But for me, they go on my backpack. I have a patch backpack. Manager with a store message. Another patch and collection. You guys are amazing. Thank you for making all these memorable items. Go SpaceX, go Starship. Much love from Perth, Australia. Yeah, this is once not super horrible for Australia. Well, it's kind of late for them, right? It's super late. No, it's like 10 p.m.
Well, it depends where you live.
Yeah.
I'm seeing here 2:25 or so a.m. So yeah, but that's on the Sydney side of things. So
It's
may
a
not
bit
be-
later.
Yeah.
Michael Harding
Yeah,
with
Perth
a
is in
$2
the-
super chat. Dumb question. What is a spin prime? Gimbal checks? Trevor, do you mind giving quick recap what a spin prime is?
Sure. So a spin prime is when they run a little bit of liquid oxygen through the liquid oxygen side turbo pump, and that just validates that everything is looking good in the engine, that valves are working, and all of that. But I want to emphasize it's only one of the turbo pumps that they run this through. So there's nothing being done on the methane side. And then conversely, when they do a pre-burner test, not that we really see them do many of those in Starbase nowadays, that is only done on the liquid methane side of things. So yeah.
There you go. And final super chat here from Thomas C saying, did they take the scaffolding of the OLM yet, Alex?
Well, for that I will have to actually look at the other cameras because I haven't been able to pay much attention. But I believe there's still some of the scaffolding on it. Yeah, but that can be removed rather quickly, so not a big deal in my opinion.
There we go. And that clears up our backlog then. I want to quickly mention the fact that our Flight 3 free stream, my god, is already scheduled. There you can see it. I love the thumbnail, by the way. And it's already there. Just 2 days from now, we will go live at 11 p.m. local time for marathon coverage of the Starship Flight Test 3. So if you want to go to that stream, if you want to make sure to notify yourself, hey, I want to be there when it goes live, go to that stream, make sure to bookmark it, and we will do all the coverage we can on that day and make sure you get all the information you have. I can promise you there's videos prepared, there will be guests, there will be our usual team, there will be in-field reports, there might be some few surprises for you all. So I think you will enjoy this. So make sure to check it out on our channel. That's where the flight stream is already scheduled. And with that, I want to thank Alex for being with us today and jumping in.
It's been a pleasure, and definitely looking forward to more testing.
Yeah, for sure. And also looking forward to the OFT stream on Thursday. And I also want to thank Trevor for kicking this off with me and initially doing the Trevor and Adrian podcast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
And I also want to quickly mention the fact that you also are on Countdown to Launch later today at 4 p.m. Eastern, together with Ryan and Lon, where we will talk all Starship again. And my name is Adrian Beil. I was your host today. Thanks for watching. Behind the scenes, we had Jay Keegan making sure that everything looks great. We get these amazing replays, views, everything. Thank you so much for all of that, Jay. And with that, I think we are done here for today. That's the stream. But we will, of course, return for Countdown to Launch, return for any testing, and we'll throw you to also Starbase Live to observe the rest of the detanking procedure here and road opening in a bit from now. Thanks for watching.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Amazing!
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?